Izuku sat in the grass with many of his classmates by the small battlefield Cementos created. I could have sworn the ones I saw on TV were a lot bigger and nicer than this one. He winced as he placed his hands on the rough grass, both of them still raw and a little bloodied from his special move against the zero-pointer and then against Todoroki's ice trap. Here. Yaoyorozu held out a small pile of bandages and some antiseptic. What? You made this for me? Izuku felt a stirring in his heart. She giggled and shook her head. I actually brought them with me. I figured something like this would happen, so I thought it best to be prepared. I don't know if I should be touched or insulted. Midoriya deadpanned as he gratefully held his hands out to be bandaged. Ida looked over. Midoriya, are you alright? I didn't even notice your injuries. Kirishima popped over as well. Oh, damn. At least it's not as bad as your hand after USJ. That was gross. Izuku shuddered at the memory. Yeah, let's try not to do that again. Without further ado, let's get into the first match of the preliminary tournament. Present Mike roared into the mic, a grin plastered across his lively face. With a name as redundant as his role in the plot, it's Tetsu from 1B. The silvery student walked onto the stage with a tick mark on his forehead. Redundant? She's smart, beautiful, powerful, and woefully underdeveloped relative to her potential. Itsuka Kendo, also from 1B. Underdeveloped? Kendo groaned as she walked to the position across from her classmate and opponent. Midnight cleared her throat from her podium by the small stage. Well, the rules are simple. Win by knocking your opponent off of the battlefield, rendering them immobile, or forcing them to concede. Of course, you can't kill them, but a little, bruising. Midnight licked her lips. Never hurt anyone. The audience collectively groaned. That's literally all a bruise does. And since this is just the preliminary tournament, we're also enforcing a time limit. After 5 minutes, we'll stop the battle and decide a winner ourselves. We need to keep things moving, after all. Kendo exhaled before assuming a stance like a martial artist, her feet spaced out wide while she held her arms close to her torso, palms kept open. Tetsu simply cracked his knuckles and then his neck before preemptively hardening his skin, the metallic sheen gleaming in the summer sun. Izuku prepared his pencil and notepad. She's a martial artist like Ojiro. Maybe I should trace some of her movements, although I have my own match a little after this and I already overused the Sharingan once today. Midnight held up her whip, and with that, begin. She brought the whip down with a crack. Immediately, Tetsu charged forward. Sorry, Kendo, but I can't stop here. He raised a steeled fist and brought it down with enough force to powder concrete. However, the female gracefully sidestepped the attack and delivered a short palm strike to Tetsu's unguarded chest. But at the last second, her hand enlarged, eventually becoming larger than either combatant. Tetsu was sent flying back from the blow, only saved from a ring out by digging his steel fingers into the cement ground. Kendo smirked, her hand shrinking back to normal size while gesturing at her friend. Come here. Izuku's eyes widened as he scribbled frantically in his notebook. Wow. Her quirk is so cool. I wonder if she can enlarge her entire body or just her hands. And can she vary the size, or is it like Mount Lady's quirk? Could she potentially increase her maximum size through training? Does enlargement actually increase her strength, or does it just increase the surface area through which a force is applied? And wouldn't a fist that size generate a lot of drag in the dash? Deku? Uraraka asked worriedly, sweat rolling down her face. Oh. Izuku blushed as he realized many of the first years on the field were staring at him in a mix of fear and confusion. Yaoyorozu peered over his shoulder. What's in the notebook? It's just some notes on different quirks I see. Kinda lame, I know. Izuku rubbed his head sheepishly. Oh wow, these are really detailed. And the drawings are pretty good, too. Yaoyorozu mused as she flipped through the pages. Is all of class 1A in this? How did she take that without me noticing? Most everyone. I don't think I have anything on Koda. And my info on Todoroki's pretty limited, too. Well, I'm not sure if that's going to change. Kirishima nervously chuckled as he thought back to Todoroki's declaration of war earlier that day. He then looked at the notebook, currently open to Yaoyorozu's page. You really got all the little details right. Nice shading work. Mina popped over and instantly widened her eyes, her cheeks tinging purple. Are they really that big? Go you, Yaoyorozu. Reflexively, Yaoyorozu shut the notebook and handed it back to Midoriya with a furious blush. Just promise me that you'll never show that to Mineta. I mean, I won't, but I don't know if that'll stop him. A loud clanging sound brought them back to the fight. Hiya! Kendo exclaimed as she knocked Tetsu into the air with her enlarged fist. Yup, my knuckles are definitely bruised. The metal man landed on the ground with a dull thud, cracking the cement with the impact. Slowly standing up, he shook his head free of his dizziness. Damn, Kendo. For a girl, you're really freaking manly. Kirishima groaned from the side. Dude, that's totally something I'd say. That's completely unmanly. Kendo just smiled exasperatedly. Sorry Tetsu, but I think I need to finish up. Time's short, remember? The steel user grinned. I was thinking the same thing. He suddenly took off at full speed towards his foe. Come on. That's too easy. Kendo preemptively enlarged her hand, intending on smacking her friend out of the ring. But then he smashed his metallic arms together and grinded them against each other. Screet asterisk. The entire arena seized their ears at the horrendous screeching sound Tetsu produced, including Kendo. Just like I planned, grinning, Tetsu delivered a powerful right cross to Kendo's head, crumpling the female with one blow. Ugh, that sound. Kendo is immobile. Midnight swung her flail down towards Kendo's unconscious form. And the first person to move on to the main tournament is Tetsu. Present Mike exclaimed to the victor's glee and the crowd's applause. Yes. Tetsu alternated between wiping tears from his face and roaring triumphantly. Kirishima huffed. Damn. That was pretty manly. You need some new adjectives. Yaoyorozu muttered under her breath. After the UA robots pulled Kendo away on a stretcher and Tetsu followed out of concern, Present Mike called the next fight, now for the second match. Once again, it's a Class B battle. First up is, how did he get 10th place on the entrance exam? AKA Yosetsu Aways. The headband-wearing man walked onto the stage while glaring at the commentator's box. Fuck off. Lovely. Then it's the bug-eyed boy wonder, cozy-eyed Tsuburaba. Is that necessary? Tsuburaba groaned as he took his position. Midnight swung her flail. Begin. Tsuburaba took a big breath and exhaled out the largest wall of solid air he could muster up, essentially splitting the field in two. I'll just wait until time runs out. I trapped Aways, so they'll have to give me the win. You fucking serious? Aways deadpanned as he pinched his nose bridge. Whatever. The taller boy casually walked to the wall and slammed his hand against it. There was a slight glow and suddenly the skin of his palm appeared fused to the air's surface. Whoa. Izuku's eyes bulged from his skull. That's so cool. He scribbled in his notebook so fast that the pages started smoking. Aways then jumped in the air. When he landed, he pulled his welded arm towards his body. Coupled with the momentum of his fall, Aways generated enough force to pull the upper half of the near-invisible wall past the point of its elasticity, shattering it like glass. Tisk. Tsuburaba took a step back, deeply inhaling in preparation. Aways cracked his knuckles and dashed forward, his fingers outstretched towards his classmate's torso. Unfortunately for him, Tsuburaba made a small wall quickly, perfectly positioned for Aways to slam into it rather painfully. Seizing his bloodied nose, the latter stepped back to glare. Sinovovich. He's like a quieter Kaken, Izuku observed with a bemused smile. Not wasting any time, Tsuburaba leapt onto a solid air platform, then another and another, until he was well over Aways. He then sat down and relaxed. Sorry Aways, but I'm fine waiting it out. Something Monoma and I can agree on at least. Aways just shook his head. He jumped with surprising height and managed to graze the bottom of Tsuburaba's perch. Instantly welding his right fingertips, Aways pulled himself up, ignoring the searing pain from his digits, and wrapped his left hand around his opponent's pant leg before he could make his escape. He then released his right hand, using the standing brunette as his anchor in the air. Panic filled Tsuburaba's eyes while mirth filled Aways. With a strong yank and a swing of his legs, Aways managed to pull his foe off of the platform. Deactivating his weld, Aways landed in a squat while Tsuburaba fell at angle, ultimately landing painfully on his back on the grassy field. Tsuburaba is out of bounds. Midnight proclaimed. Present Mix roar filled the air, and just like that, we have our second winner, Yosetsu Aways. The dark-haired boy just nodded before turning to his dazed classmate. What's the point of being here if you're not even gonna fucking try? Tsuburaba didn't respond but looked down disappointedly. You know, Aways' quirk seems kinda weird, but he's really good with it. Mina noted. That or the other guy was just a complete pushover. Kirishima joked while scratching his head at the rather one-sided match. Can we have the third match's participants join us? First up is the guy who probably couldn't actually point out France on a map, it's Yuga Aoyama. The blonde boy strutted onto the stage and gave an admittedly smooth hair flip. Monsieur Mike forgot to mention how dazzling I am. He definitely didn't. Aizawa's monotone droll retorted through the speakers. Next is the guy who actually looks like he'd invade France, Nido Monoma. Whatever Monoma said as he walked onto the stage was drowned out by Bakugo's uproarious laughter. The two stared each other down before Monoma flashed a cocky grin and made him way to the middle of the battlefield. Isn't it customary to shake hands with your opponents before a fight? He held out a hand as a gesture of goodwill. Aoyama examined the other blonde suspiciously and then threw all of that out the window to reciprocate the gesture. What manners? A shame I need to best you. Monoma just smiled, although a malicious undertone made its way to the forefront. Bakugo just facepalmed, the fruit basket's a fucking idiot. Izuku paled slightly. I don't think we can say that phrase anymore. Begin. Aoyama pulled his hands over his head and thrust his stomach out, art of seduction. A strong blue beam erupted from the crystal on his belt, aimed squarely for Monoma's chest. With surprising grace and speed, Monoma sidestepped the laser before placing his hands over his head in a perfect mimicry of Aoyama's pose, HM. It's all over. He thrust his stomach forward. Two things happened, one after the other. Firstly, everyone realized that without the sparkle belt, naval laser was significantly less effective, at least based on the shimmering blue, cloud-like emission that softly drifted out of Monoma's stomach as opposed to the concentrated beam from earlier. What the hell? Maybe I need to push it. Monoma mused as he tried to fire again, but this time with a mighty flex of his abs. Secondly, Monoma realized the consequence of using naval laser for longer than 1 second, especially after lunch. Oh no. Monoma's face went bright red and he clutched his gut. Aoyama just smirked knowingly, his eyes sparkling. Realization dawned on Izuku. Oh no. No way. Then came the smell. I'd like to drop out. Monoma squeaked, still holding his stomach. Midnight nodded furiously while tightly pinching her nose, that's probably for the best. Aoyama wins. Present Mike muttered, his face aghast. There were no cheers for the victory, but there was heavy laughter from a certain ashy blonde. God fucking damn it, that was awesome. I fucking love that French fuck. You're enjoying this a little too much, Kaken. Izuku's sweat dropped before realization hit him. Now for the final match of the preliminary tournament. Based on past performance, analysts had him as the predicted winner of the tournament until they saw Todoroki, its Class A's Izuku Midoriya. Gulping, Izuku stood up from the grass and made his way onto the stage. He turned to his cheering friends and smiled, trying to mask his nerves. Then he turned to where his mother and Eri sat in the stands and gave another smile, earning a proud wail and tear geyser in response. Next is the stone-cold assassin from Class B, Ibra Shiozaki. Now let's have a super awesome battle. Especially after that last one. The other brunette walked onto the stage amidst cheers from her entire class, and many of the other first-year classes, but turned to the announcer's box with an affronted gaze. Excuse me, but what do you mean by assassin? Present Mike searched for a response. Sorry. Shiozaki spread her arms and closed her eyes like a biblical figure. I have come here for victory, not to take my opponent's life. And I entered this school only to further myself and become a greater hero, not to cause harm. The sunlight shone down on her, bathing her in golden light. Even God thinks this girl's an angel. Midoriya's sweat dropped. I said I was sorry. Present Mike asserted, scratching his cheek in embarrassment. PST, Midoriya. Izuku turned to the side of the stadium and raised an eyebrow. Huh? Kaminari? The sparking blonde's cheeks were tinged red, but he had his trademark cocky/dumb grin. Dude, she's like, super cute. Put in a good word for me. I'm about to fight her. Dude, come on. Kaminari whined, I'll seriously owe you one. Midoriya scratched his head. I mean, I'll try, but I don't know when I'll have the chance to. Kaminari just flashed a thumbs up. Thanks bro. You're the best wingman I could gh. A sudden jack to the eye interrupted the electricity user. Yeesh. Sorry about that, Midoriya. Can't let him out of your sight, you know. Jiro joked as she dragged the unconscious teen away from the stage. Sweat dropping, Izuku turned back to his opponent to find her already looking at him with a soft smile. Hi. She is cute. Her eyes are as big as Aries. Shiozaki bowed slightly. It's good to see you again, Midoriya. I trust you are doing well. Oh, yeah, I'm great. Thanks again for earlier, by the way. No way I'd have gotten first if you hadn't saved me. Oh, come on. You already know her. Dick move, Midori YH. Kaminari yelped as another jack entered another eye. Midnight grinned. Oh, it looks like you two are friends. Good. I love it when things get personal. This lady has issues. All Might gulped. Young Midoriya, this is your first real test today. But I have to admit, I'm pretty excited to see how you'll do. Below, in the stands, Inko was doing her best to not bawl before the match even started. Oh, just look at those thorns. What if that girl has poison ivy? Eri leaned against her adoptive mother. Deku and I's gonna win, though, right? Inko looked at the young girl before smiling confidently. Of course. Our Izuku's a fighter. The young girl smiled back and turned back to the battlefield. But what if he gets sporotrichosis? Start. The whip cracked, signaling the two competitors to begin. Izuku exhaled deeply. Sharingan. His quirk activated with the characteristic ringing sound, and he adopted a defensive stance he learned from Ojiro. From what I can tell, her quirk lets her control those vines on her head. She can make them grow too, so she has long-range attacks. They also look like they're covered in thorns, so I probably should avoid touching them at all. Shiozaki clapped her hands and laced her fingers together. Immediately, the vines on her head elongating and crawled towards Izuku at significant speed. But not that significant. One for all, full cowl. Izuku's entire body took on a glow and green lightning crackled across him. He dashed away from the vines, his eyes trained on his thorny foe. Izuku charged Shiozaki, his fist pulled back, only to feel a sudden pain in his leg. One of the vines he dodged earlier suddenly changed direction and wrapped itself around his ankle. Damn it. The vine pulled Izuku up and whipped him into the ground painfully, knocking the wind out of him. Ow. He rubbed his shoulder and glared at the thorny vine on his foot. Then it started to grow, wrapping itself around his leg and then, presumably, his entire body. Crap. Izuku exclaimed as he frantically clawed at the plant. Wait, just sever the point of origin. Quickly, Izuku found where the vine first wrapped around his leg and snapped it with full cowl's enhanced strength, ignoring the sharp pain from tightly gripping thorns. He let out a breath of relief before standing back up, only to fall down again due to a sharp pain in his leg. The vines, they're still growing. Shiozaki's hands were clasped together and her eyes were closed, but she had a slight, yet confident, smile. She can control her vines remotely, huh? With renewed fervor, Izuku ripped at the plants over his legs, hissing as the surprisingly sharp barbs shredded his skin. Then there was a bleeding pain in his shoulder and Izuku was dragged to the ground forcefully by a second vine. Damn it. If she wraps me up completely, I'm out of the festival. Come on. Think. Think. All Might chewed through his fingernails like a chainsaw, sweat thoroughly dripping down his forehead. The commentary wasn't helping either. Wow. Midori is completely overwhelmed by Shiozaki's quirk. Does he even stand a chance? Aizawa's shrug was practically audible from his tone. Midoriya has a bad habit of getting caught up in the moment. And even when he can execute a plan, it'll probably end with him getting injured. Such faith, All Might rubbed his hands together nervously. But the stadium turned to the mummified erasure hero, especially the other pro heroes who had never heard that word come from their colleague. He's not a complete idiot. That's it. Basically everyone in the stadium sweat dropped at the half-assed praise. Everyone except present Mike, who covered up his microphone to look at his longtime friend with tears. Wow, that was really touching. Aizawa just shook his head and groaned, I'm surrounded by idiots. He looked down to the teacher's box and locked eyes with All Might, who nervously looked away with a whistle, not that Aizawa could hear it. Yeah, that pretty much confirms it. Izuku was too stressed and focused to listen to the commentary or the crowd. There has to be something I'm missing. I can't predict where she's gonna move the vines since she does it without moving, so the Sharingan can't help me. Wait. Despite being mostly covered in thorns, Izuku grinned widely. He pulled his left pinky back with his thumb and charged it with one for all until the red veins and green lightning made the digit shine. Just aim and Delaware smash. Izuku flicked his pinky, bursting open the bandage around the finger and releasing a powerful jet of air right to his opponent. Shiozaki's eyes shot open once Izuku began to speak and she instinctively formed a barrier of vines before her. Unfortunately for her, the air bullet broke through the shield and still knocked her onto her back, albeit not very far. But when she stood up, she had a very happy Greenette looking at her. He pointed to the vines that used to trap him, now thrown well out of bounds. Sorry, but I don't think you can use those anymore. Just like I thought, when she loses focus or moves, her control goes out the window. I wish the Delaware Smash did more, but I guess I should just be happy it knocked her down. Shiozaki dusted herself off and smiled confidently. That was very impressive, Midoriya. But it looks like it came at a cost. She pointed to his red, swollen finger. He cupped his hand protectively and got into a defensive stance. Once her vines are out of my line of sight, I have no way of tracking them, even with the Sharingan. I have to keep them in front of me. Or destroy them. She cupped her hands again, causing her hair to lengthen, but now bury itself into the ground rather than go over it. She's trying to hide the vines from me. But those vines are technically alive, so with the Sharingan, Izuku looked at the ground and saw several snake-like objects quickly burrowing through the concrete. He smirked and pulled his arms up, right as the vines were beneath him. Miami Smash. Izuku brought his forearms down onto the ground in a dual hammer fist with such force that the ground shattered. Shiozaki hissed as her vine's path was cut off and she separated them. This is it. Izuku charged at Shiozaki. She always takes a moment to recover after an attack. So this is when I have to strike. While she was stunned at first, Shiozaki quickly regained her bearings and clapped her hands once more while turning around. A meter-thick wall of vines formed all around her, the thorns pointed outwards menacingly. As expected, Midoriya has quite a bit of stamina. So I need to inflict as much damage as I can, wherever I can. And getting through something this thick and all-encompassing won't be as simple as punching right through it. Izuku eyed the slightly overkill shield and grinned. This is the perfect time to show off my training to All Might. That he skidded to a stop and knelt down, his left hand clutching his right wrist. His Sharingan started spinning so fast, it almost stung. I can only use this for an instant, so I need to use the Sharingan to verify her position, inside her shield, predict where she's going to be. Still inside her shield, and estimate the optimal point of attack, dead center. He took a deep breath and focused one for all into the outermost part of his right palm. His hands started to glow with green lightning that arced across the ground, causing small soot spots to form while the bandage Yaoyorozu wrapped earlier disintegrated. A sound like several eagles crying as they dive-bombed filled the air, a detail that filled a certain pro-hero with the urge to salute the stars and stripes. The crows started murmuring to themselves and he even heard some of his friends whispering, but he couldn't afford to lose concentration. Just like I practiced with Yaoyorozu, breathe. Then it was ready. Concentrating full cowl in his legs, Izuku pulled back his arm, causing the cement to shatter beneath his crackling hand. And he took off, appearing like a lightning bolt more so than a human. Take this, Chidori. Izuku thrust his right hand into the brambles, which crumpled before his attack. Then, there was a crack like thunder and Shiozaki's shield blew apart, sending up a cloud of smoke and dust. What the fuck? Bakugo hissed, his eyes wide at the last attack. Uraraka and Ida nodded in agreement, their jaws fallen through the floor. Even Todoroki seemed taken aback with surprise at the destructive force behind that last attack. I don't know what that was, but it was manly as hell. Kirishima nodded resolutely. It was the other move Midoriya prepared for the sports festival. I actually helped him with this one. Yaoyorozu professed proudly. Really? So how does he do it? Mina asked. He never told you, did he? You Present Mike interrupted the conversation, the dust clouds finally clearing. And it looks like, whoa. Midnight cracked her whip down at Shiozaki's prone body laying outside the ring. Shiozaki is unconscious. She raised her whip towards Midoriya, who was holding his raw hand gingerly, but proudly. If the massive grin across his face was any indication, Midoriya wins. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause as Present Mike screamed, look at that. Midoriya just laid down some cage-free, grade A, NONGMO, organic, gluten-free ass kicking. Mike, there are kids watching. I know what I said. Anyways, with that, we have all the people moving on to the next round, so let's bring out the Jumbotron and see what the bracket's gonna be. The big screen lit up while the robots pulled Shiozaki onto a stretcher and took her to the pop-up clinic. The 16 participants' names appeared on the screen before they started shuffling around. Izuku, in the meantime, got off the stage and approached his friends. Deku, that was awesome. Uraraka high-fived him, much to his discomfort. Ignore the lack of skin on your hand like a man. A slap on the back broke him out of his thoughts. Dude, nice work. You had us worried for a second. Speaking of being a man, thanks, Kirishima. Seriously, Midoriya, that was impressive. Your Chidori looked even stronger than before. Yaoyorozu complimented. I don't think that's possible. Well, I couldn't have gotten it down if you hadn't made all those skeets for me to practice against. Izuku looked to Bakugo, who just grunted and turned away, then to Todoroki, who returned the stare with uncomfortable intensity. Luckily, Present Mike offered reprieve. It's done. Here are the match UPS for the third and final round of the first-year stage of the sports festival. Block A: Izuku Midoriya vs Denki Kaminari Yosetsu Aways vs Hantasiro Katsuki Bakugo vs Tetsu Ochako Uraraka vs Ejiro Kirishima. Block B: Momo Yaoyorozu vs Meihatsum Fumikage Tokoyami vs Hitoshi Shinso Shoto Todoroki vs Mina Ashido Tenya Ida vs Yuga Aoyama. Izuku looked at the bracket and gulped. Kaken's in my block. If I want to get into the finals, I might have to go through him. And Todoroki's in the other block. There's a good chance he'll be the winner of his division. Although, he took a good look at his friends' faces and their determined expressions. It might not be as easy as that. Mua. Recovery Girl's lips retracted from Izuku's hands as they glowed in a soft green light. Honestly, I don't know what you consider progress, but blowing the skin off both of your hands and breaking a finger in the course of a couple hours is not what I had in mind. Izuku laughed sheepishly, and a bit nervously, as she wrapped both hands in some fresh bandages. Sorry. She shook her head and sighed. I guess it's to be expected given your mentor, but try to be careful. At least for today, if nothing else. My quirk drains stamina, remember? He nodded solemnly and laid back in the bed. She's right. The more injuries I get, the more healing I'll need and the more my stamina'll drain. So I should probably relax as much as I can. Izu. The door to the clinic shot open and the stout Midoriya matriarch stormed in, followed closely by an equally concerned Eri. Chuckling sheepishly at Recovery Girl's annoyed look at the outburst, Izuku smiled at his family. Hi Mom. She rushed to his bedside. Are you hurt? Are you in pain? Do you need some juice? I'm okay. Really? Just resting a bit. How are you doing? She waved his question away. Don't change the subject, young man. I thought I told you to be more careful. Honestly, of all the things to inherit from your father, you get his recklessness. Mom. Izuku whined, only to turn his attention once he noticed a small pair of hands tightly gripping the edge of his bed. Laughing at the sight of Eri trying to climb onto it with him, he pulled her up and sat her in his lap. How are you doing? Having fun? He bopped her nose, earning a giggle. Yeah. It's all boom and WSH. She waved her hands around energetically. Izuku nodded excitedly. I know, right. And the BAM and the Zoom. Yeah. Eri shook with glee. Inko and Recovery Girl sweat dropped. Is this even human language anymore? The doctor cleared her throat. Sorry, but I'm afraid I need you two to leave. I still have other patients considering some people decided a ring out wasn't a good enough way to win. She shot a glare to the male greenette, earning a yelp. Inko nodded with a bow. Of course, Miss Recovery Girl. Sorry for the intrusion. Good luck with the rest, Izuku. We'll be watching. Eri wrapped her arms around her savior, by Deku and II. She then jumped off the bed, took her mother's hand and left the room. Izuku smiled and laid back down. They seem nice. He shot up and turned to the other side of the clinic. Shiozaki smiled at him while laying down herself. Oh. Hi. Izuku waved awkwardly, unsure of how to interact with the person he just blew up. She giggled. How are you feeling? I'm good. How are you? I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I've been better, but I'll be fine. That was quite the move you displayed at the climax of our battle. He scratched his head. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't really expect it to blow up like that. Shiozaki smiled warmly. It's fine. We were opponents after all. Whatever it takes to seek victory, right? Alright. Izuku fell back onto his bed for an awkward moment before popping up. Hey, why did you save me earlier? On the obstacle course. Shiozaki raised an eyebrow before looking up thoughtfully. I suppose it's because it seemed like the right thing to do. And we weren't opponents at the time. Not directly, at least. He nodded and laid back. You seem unsatisfied. Izuku snorted, sorry, it's just that, on the entrance exam and at USJ and now here, I feel like I keep getting by off of dumb luck or everyone else. I just wonder if I really deserve to be up here, you know? Shiozaki was taken aback, but responded softly, Midoriya, I don't know why you would think that, but if you're so concerned with proving yourself, you just proved your abilities in our last match. But part of being a hero is being able to work with others, including furthering yourself with their help. It's something to celebrate more than chastise oneself over. Ha. Now it was Izuku's turn to look up thoughtfully. Furthering myself, with other people's help. He smiled slightly, thanks, Shiozaki. You give some really good pep talks. Recovery girl smiled. At least he's getting along with others. You really picked a good one, Tashinori. Midoriya, shouldn't you be thinking about your next match? Oh. You're right. He hastily pulled his notebook out and flipped to Kaminari's entry with a trademark muttering storm. Thinking is a silent activity. Alright. The first match will start in 15 minutes. Can we get the first round of participants down to the waiting rooms? Kaminari cracked his knuckles as he stood up from the Class A section in the stadium seating. Well, I'm off. Wish me luck, everyone. Good luck, Kaminari. Ida bowed with a polite smile. Do your best. Yaoyorozu politely encouraged. Kirishima grinned and flashed a thumbs up, you got this, bro. The electric user smiled, his cheeks tinged red from the praise. Ah, thanks, you guys. He rounded the corner and left, a noticeable pep in his step. Jiro waited until his footsteps grew silent before muttering, so who wants to put up some cash? Ida jumped up and slammed an affronted hand over his equally affronted heart. Jiro. Betting on our peers is unbecoming of a UA student. Lighten up, Roadrunner. We need something to entertain the rest of us that aren't in the tournament. Still, Jiro, it seems a little rude to bet on our friends like this. Yaoyorozu added. Tokoyami interjected, I'll put 2,000 yen on Midoriya. Tito Koyami. Ida's jaw dropped as the Birdman handed several bills to Jiro. He just shrugged, I'm in need of funds. Buster Sword replica, you. Will be mine. Shoji shook his head, honestly, we shouldn't condone materialism at the expense of our friends. Ida smiled and clapped his friend on his extremely large shoulders, yes. Thank you, Shoji. Which is why I'll be donating all my winnings to charity. 1,000 yen on Midoriya. How could you? Ida waved his arms frantically while Jiro cackled. Bakugo growled, shut the hell up. He threw a ball of bills right down to Kyoka, knocking her on the head. Ow. What the hell, man? She rubbed her head while glaring at the blonde. 10,000 on Piku. Mina's eyes widened, wow, even Bakugo's getting in on it. Uraraka quietly handed the petite musician a single bill and whispered as quietly as she could, for Deku. But it wasn't quite quiet enough, ETTU, Uraraka. Jiro was thoroughly howling now as Ida fumed, waving his arms faster than even his brother probably could. Mineta jumped up with a sizable wad of bills, my entire life savings on Kaminari. Azui cocked her head, really? Ribbit. I thought you and Midoriya were friends. Mineta shook his head so hard that a few of his balls fell off, no way. He's close to all the girls and not once did he be my wingman. He needs to die. If only you had this kind of passion during gym class. Ribbit. While Mineta sulked and Jiro counted out his surprisingly high bid, Kirishima dug through his pockets. They're both pretty manly, but I'm gonna go with Kaminari. He and I sit together, Kirishima explained as he handed a 5,000 yen note to Jiro. I'll put 2,000 on the both of them, we. Aoyama smiled as he handed 4 1,000 yen notes to Jiro. Then why even bet? Most of the class sweat dropped. Jiro whistled as she completed the pile, damn, maybe I should just sneak off with all this. Whoa, are you guys betting? The entire class turned to the wall to the left of their section and nearly jumped at the sight of Kendo from Class B smiling at them. Ida perked up, finally, someone responsible. My fellow class representative, surely you can see the moral depravity dash. I'll throw 3,000 on Midoriya. Kendo held out her bet, earning roaring laughter from Jiro and a sharp gasp from Ida. Oh. Is Class A gambling? That's against the rules, right? Monoma popped up over the barrier with a manic grin, wow, so much for being the better class, right? 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 Alright ga. The blonde collapsed out of sight with one solid neck chop from Kendo. Sorry about him. He's a bit insecure after his fight. 5,000 on the blonde. Monoma groaned, feebly holding up a few bills to Kendo. Jiro finished marking her totals and called, anyone else? Any last takers? Yaoyorozu sighed before handing over an amount of money so large, the author couldn't comprehend its scope. I'll put my pocket money down. This is your pocket money? Jiro exclaimed, eyes bulging out of their sockets at the incomprehensible wealth on display. The taller girl blushed but nodded, yes. I'll bet on Midoriya winning but injuring himself in the process. Mina protested, come on. You can't put a condition down. Well, I never said anyone couldn't. Jiro shrugged, I'll allow it. Then let us change our bets. Sorry, no can do. Kirishima groaned, ugh, but Midoriya getting injured is like saying Bakugo commit a war crime. The hell does that mean, you unicorn fuck? Yaoyorozu shook her head at the vulgarity of her classmate's antics before turning to her friend curiously, Jiro, are you going to bet on anyone? Oh, I did. Trust me, I did. She said with a mischievous smirk. Izuku leaned back and stretched, his arms extended well over his head. Okay. I can do this. I can do this. It's just Kaminari. I've sparred with him before. I got my notes. I'm ready. I'm ready. Yo, young Midoriya. Eek. Izuku curled into a ball on the floor of the hall, startled by the sudden interruption of his inner monologue. All Might's sweat dropped, you know, I really thought we were making progress on the whole jumpy thing. See, 'cause you surprised me. The older man waved his hand dismissively, semantics. Anyways, how are you feeling? Izuku shrugged, same as earlier. I mean, I did everything I could to prepare so. Well, you're doing fine from where I'm standing. And that thing you did with One for All, I could barely believe my eyes. All Might clenched a fist proudly. Wait, full cowl or the Chidori? Both. The symbol of peace grinned excitedly, earning an embarrassed laugh from his pupil, seriously. I could barely believe my eyes when I saw you running down the obstacle course or when you defeated young Shiozaki. Ha, thanks. I just hope they come in handy against everyone else in the tournament. There are a lot of people I don't have a good strategy against. All Might shrugged, well, we'll just deal with that when it comes. And besides, you have bigger fish to fry right now. Young Kaminari's waiting, and after all the work he put into practical training, I dare say he'd be quite the challenge. Alright. See you after the match. Izuku waved as he exited the hall and stepped onto the field, only to immediately stop in his tracks, holy dash. Shee-yike. All Might hissed. The relatively puny and drab concrete field from the preliminary tournament was gone, replaced by a massive tiered and, above all, clean stage, with the UA logo emblazoned on either side. Cementos stood to the side opposite Midnight, staring proudly at his creation. I dare say this is the best one yet. Even the third-year stage wasn't this good. He declared resolutely. Present Mick's voice reverberated through the stadium, all right. Let's get into the first matchup of the third round of the UA Sports Festival first-year stage. Starting on my left, the most shocking thing about this guy is the fact that he made it this far, Class A's Denki Kaminari. The blonde ran onto the stage, blowing kisses and waving excitedly to the cheering crowd. He even winked and gestured, call me, to a few females in the audience, earning polite, if not uncomfortable, laughter. Izuku's sweat dropped. I know he likes to look cool, but that's a bit much. Then on my right, the only thing more broken than his quirk is his body, Class A's Izuku Midoriya. The brunette walked calmly onto the stage but waved and smiled to his friends and family. Do your best, Deku. Uraraka cried, barely reaching the stage floor. Both of you, fight well. Yaoyorozu cheered. Don't fight. They're all betting on you. Don't condone their behavior. Ida pleaded, his rapid arm swings unfortunately drowning out his message. Kaminari chuckled, man, everyone's really pumped, huh? Yeah. It's the first match after all. Expectations are bound to be high. Then let's give them a good show, right? Kaminari stared his friend straight down the battlefield and grinned, ready when you are, Midoriya. Izuku returned the smile and stretched one last time, yeah, let's do this. Midnight watched their interaction from her stand and squealed, seizing her, assets in a provocative measure, oh these youths are getting me all hot and bothered. Start. How are we supposed to start after that? Kaminari protested. Sharingan. Izuku crouched and placed both hands on the ground, getting into a runner's position, full cowl. Green lightning arced across his body as his skin and eyes began to glow with a green tint while his irises took the familiar red glow of his quirk. I'd rather not use the Sharingan, but if I didn't have it active, people might suspect that I have another quirk. But, Kaminari's regular attacks and wind-ups aren't so fast that I actually need to rely on it, so I don't need to worry about overusing it. Full cowl's enhanced reflexes should be enough anyways. Let's go. Izuku jumped forward at high speed and cocked his arm back. Then he planted his feet right before his wide-eyed opponent, ready to deliver a powerful blow to his opponent's temple. Like Ojiro said. First two knuckles with a strong hip rotation and firmly grounded feet. Detroit smash. His fist nearly made contact with Kaminari, but there was a sudden blinding light and Izuku felt every bone in his body shudder. Then he was thrown back several meters. TSK. Come on, bro. Give me some credit. Kaminari clenched his fist as yellow electricity arced across his body at incredible speed. I got the idea after your fight with my future wife. I call it, Cloak of Lightning. Cool, right? Izuku groaned as he shook his head clear from the shock. So he basically copied Full Cowl, which I basically copied from him. There's something beautiful about that. Kirishima whistled. Man, Kaminari looks confident as hell. I give it like 2 minutes before he short-circuits himself. Jiro snickered. Doubt the fight will last that long. Bakugo muttered. Uraraka turned to him, affronted. Hey. Give Deku more credit than that. She paused once she felt a hand on her shoulder. He's actually not wrong. Yaoyorozu solemnly stated. Mina squealed, oh, this is getting good now. While his reasoning might be skewed to say the least, Bakugo might be correct. The raven-haired female explained, Kaminari's new move renders physical attacks useless, or at the very least, dangerous to perform. Tokoyami grimaced, and Midori is a close-range fighter, through and through. Well, not entirely. A small smile appeared on the tallest girl's face. Midoriya has one ranged attack. Ooh. Uraraka pounded a fist down into her palm like a gavel, his Delaware smash thing, right? That's the one. Ida scratched his chin, but that move also damages Midoriya. The Birdman smirked. I'm pretty sure Yaoyorozu just wants him to use it so she can win the bet. What? She turned to Tokoyami with a furious blush and panicked expression. Oh, of course I don't want that. I'm just listing Midoriya's options, yeah. She nodded to nobody in affirmation. Oh, you poor, terrible liar, you. The other students sweat dropped while Yaoyorozu innocently cheered on her classmates. Izuku slowly aimed his index finger at Kaminari, his thumb pulling the digit back in preparation. If I can't touch him, then my only choice is to knock him out of the ring with a wind blast. He charged one for all, the red and green veins coursing across his finger. Kaminari started to sweat at his opponent's stance and determined expression. Now's my chance. Fire. Izuku sighed and relaxed his hands, the intense glow fading. I can't keep breaking my body to win my fights. What's the point of having Full Cowl if I keep defaulting to 100% every time I hit a roadblock? I need to use what my body can handle in order to win. Let's think, Full Cowl won't work. Chidori injures me and it might kill Kaminari. Sharingan, I honestly don't need it to be able to counter Kaminari. There's nothing I have that could give me a distinct advantage. How can I beat him without blowing myself up? Ugh, not being able to hit him is more frustrating than the freaking Nomu. Then a spark went off in Izuku's mind and he grinned widely. Of course. How did I not think about trying that? Hey, Kaminari. The blonde tensed up and locked eyes with Izuku, but still gave a friendly smirk. What's up? He's barely moved since I knocked him back. I really do have this in the bag. Izuku just grinned and opened his eyes as wide as he could. I want you to deactivate your Cloak of Lightning. Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off. There was the familiar ring of Izuku's quirk and suddenly Kaminari's eyes turned red with two tomo circling the pupil. Yes. Got it. Just like with Nomu. Huh. Why would I do that? How bad did that zing get you, bro? Kaminari tilted his head in confusion, the reflected Sharingan vanishing from his irises. Izuku's jaw dropped. What? It worked, right? Man, I really did fry your brain, didn't I? Let me jumpstart it then. Indiscriminate shock. Kaminari grinned and threw his hands down, releasing a wave of electricity into the ground. The yellow lightning coursed through the cement, cracking it along its destructive path. Shit! Izuku tried to avoid the attack by jumping but was a second too late. The lightning struck his still grounded feet and coursed through the green net at the speed of, well, lightning. He fell back with a groan, smoke arising from his leg where the bolt struck him. Okay, that didn't go according to plan. I didn't expect him to get all cocky and fire off an attack like that, though I guess that makes sense considering his ego. JG's, Midoriya. I feel kinda bad now. Kaminari stuttered, his eye slightly twitching. Izuku groaned as he stood back up, his joints creaking painfully, before another idea filled him with an almost euphoric joy. Nomu was basically an empty shell. It displayed minimal intelligence. So to win, oh, this is the perfect matchup. For the first time in a long time, if at all, complete confidence filled Izuku. His grin was equally confident. I'm still standing, aren't I? He charged Kaminari. The blonde just shook his head. Looks like I knocked a few screws loose, and Midoriya. The cloak of lightning surrounded him, crackling menacingly. But how well can it defend against this? Izuku suddenly dashed to the side and swiped down at his opponent. A slight shockwave emanated from the outstretched limb, knocking Kaminari's head back like a slap. In that instant, the cloak of lightning vanished. Here I go. Izuku cried as his quirk worked overdrive to get his timing perfect, his tomos spinning so fast he could practically feel them burning. From his position on Kaminari's side, he jumped forward and delivered a powerful chop to the back of his head, Missouri Smash. Kaminari gasped as his eyes bulged out of his skull in pain. Instinctively, he let loose a powerful wave of lightning from all directions, striking Midoriya in the chest this time, before collapsing to his knees to recover. Oh ow. Midoriya, that was uncool, oh no. Kaminari shook his head to clear his thoughts, but his poor attempt at speech was music to his foe's ears. Standing back up while rubbing his aching chest, Izuku smiled. Now's my chance. Like before, Izuku focused his gaze on his opponent's own until a familiar warmth filled his Sharingan, now reflected in Kaminari's eyes. Turn off your cloak of lightning. Kaminari nodded and the electricity surging across his body vanished. Mentally, Izuku cheered. Yes. It worked. When his brain short-circuits, he can't resist the Sharingan that well. Wow. Kaminari turned off his quirk. Wonder what that's about. Any commentary, Eraser? He has no self-control with his electricity. He's an idiot. Kirishima chuckled at their teacher's harsh words. Man, Aizawa-sensei really doesn't hold back. Bakugo huffed, it's Piku's fault. Dumbass had a good move, but he got cocky. Keep that shit in check. Like you're one to talk. Jiro deadpanned. I'll fucking kill you. Seriously? Why aren't I using my quirk? Come on. He's coming. Why can't I use it? Damn it, why won't my body listen to me? I don't want to lose here. Not like this. It's so uncool. Aren't cool guys supposed to wipe the floor with everyone else? Isn't everything supposed to be effortless? This is really hard. Maybe I'm not cool, am I lame? I'm funny, aren't I? Nobody really laughs with me though. I'm strong, though. But I couldn't do anything at USJ without Midoriya and Yamamoto. I'm smart, right? I'm not even gonna try to defend that one. I really suck, don't I? Maybe I should just let Midoriya win. Look, there he is. Right in front of me. 2 seconds and I'll be unconscious. Wonder what he would do. Izuku cocked his fist back and prepared to smash his knuckles into his opponent's temples. I win. Then, there was another flash of light and for the millionth time, Midoriya was thrown back. Kaminari groaned as he shook his head violently, his eyes slowly returning to their normal color. He smiled slowly, and man, that was wired. He broke free from the Sharingan. The blonde exhaled deeply, I'm almost out of juice. I'm a good with a bong. Electricity crackled across his fingertips and his hair stood up like another certain golden-haired anime character. Izuku exhaled deeply and prepared himself. I just have to avoid this, and I win. But if you get hit again, you'll lose and let everyone down. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Izuku's inner monologue. You're welcome, Izuku's other inner monologue. This isn't the time for a mental breakdown. Take this. Wei. Kaminari's eyes glazed over as he fired a blinding amount of electricity into the battlefield, thundering so loudly the air itself vibrated. The lightning itself was so blinding, Izuku had to avert his eyes out of instinct. Crap, panicking, Izuku did the first thing that came to mind, Chidori. The thunderous roar of Kaminari's attack suddenly faded out as a sound like a raptor's cry cut through it. There was a bright flash and then, as quickly as it came, it faded. Izuku panted heavily, his hands smoking. Slow turning his head to the left, he stared at a dark splotch of soot on the ground. Did I just... Midoriya deflected a bolt of lightning? Holy foo dash. The children, Mike. Kaminari looked at the black mark blankly before turning to his opponent and flashing a thumbs up, way. He then fell back and didn't get up again. Midnight cracked her whip from the podium, Kaminari is unconscious. Present Mike roared joyously, the winner of the first matchup is Izuku Midoriya. Class A was noticeably polarized in their joyousness. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Bakugo roared while bashing his head into the concrete walls. Yes. Uraraka cheered, her eyes tearing up at the prospect of receiving all of her winnings. Jiro just smirked as she pulled out the wad of bills, and proceeded to pocket it once more. To say that everyone else's expressions were priceless would have been a disservice. But, Jiro, Izuku won. Uraraka pleaded while Tokoyami and Shoji stared with twitching eyes. Yaoyorozu stepped forward, technically, I was the most correct given my prediction. A mischievous spark filled the punk girl's eyes, were you? She held up a piece of paper for her entire class to read. Midoriya's gonna win, and hurt himself in the process, but Jamming Wei's gonna lose his shit first. Jamming Wei. I'll lose his shit. Jiro put the paper back in her pocket and grinned, what can I say? I'm just craftier than everyone else. Let's kill her. Uraraka screeched as she enthusiastically clawed at Jiro, held back only by a frightened Ida. No, Uraraka-dano. Yeah mate. Well that was, interesting. All Might dryly commented as he and his pupil left the infirmary. Izuku rubbed his head where Recovery Girl had rapped him, repeatedly, for already getting injured again, it's not like I could help it. Kaminari shoots lightning from his fingertips. It's only natural that I'd get some burns. Ha. Well, Recovery Girl's always frustrated with the sports festival so don't take it personally. Although I am a little curious why you kept getting shocked if you could have just deflected the lightning in the first place. Hey, wait. I didn't know I could do that. Izuku waved his hands defensively. Really? That would have been one of the first things I tried. But. Izuku sighed and looked down, sorry. All Might broke out into hysterical laughter, ah, you're so fun to tease, young Midoriya. Well that was just uncalled for. Midoriya pouted in response. Sorry. Ha. Anyways, you should get back to your friends in the class booth. Young Ciro's match is about to begin and I'm sure you're curious about who your next opponent will be. The skinny man pointed to the Class 1A section stairwell. Right. See you, all dash. SSH. All Might hissed, pointing to the people around them. Alright. Izuku ran down the stairs before he could potentially out his mentor's secret for the dozenth time. Yo, Midori's back. Mina waved to the greenette as he walked down to the front row. Uraraka, Yaoyorozu and Ida turned up to look at their friend and gestured to an empty seat in between them and Jiro. Congrats, Deku. Well done, Midoriya. Midoriya, the others placed wagers on your match. I found it incredibly disrespectful, but I was unfortunately alone in my dash. Hey, good stuff out there, bro. Kirishima clapped Izuku on the back as he sat down. Really good stuff. Jiro snickered as she fanned herself with an impressively large stack of yen. Thanks, you guys. So, is the match about to dash? Start. I guess that answers that. On the repaired battlefield below, Owaze stood calmly opposite an equally calm Ciro. The former was curiously kicking off his shoes while the latter stretched his body out. You know, I really don't care if I win. Ciro cracked his knuckles before rapidly launching a line of tape, but I don't want to lose either. The white tape wrapped itself around Owaze's torso in a move clearly inspired by Aizawa. Then Ciro started to pull his tape back towards him while spinning, only to fall down at the sudden resistance. What the hell? Why isn't it moving? Ciro tugged at the tape, but Owaze was barely budging. The only indication that the Class A student was pulling at all was Away's slight lean forward, but it appeared as if he was anchored by his feet. Away's used his quirk to instantly fuse his soles to the concrete. Looks like Zero's strategy fell flatter than his nose. Mike, I'm pretty sure that's mildly racist. The operative word there is, mildly, my dear, innocent eraserhead. Zero huffed and cut his tape off before smirking, well, at least you can't move now. Doesn't that mean I win? Away's feet glowed before he started running forward. I can still move my legs, dipshit. Zero grunted and launched another stream of tape, this time aimed at his opponent's legs. However, Away's quickly dodged the attack and stomped the tape down, fusing it to the cement with his toes. He then bashed Zero down with his shoulder and pressed the latter's arm against the ground with his exposed hands. Whoa, that's weird. Zero commented wide-eyed. His forearm skin seemed to merge perfectly with the cement in an almost grotesque manner. Next time, wrap up the hands properly. Away's instructed while pressing Zero's pants against the ground, fusing them as well. Then he used his foot to fuse Zero's other arm to his shirt, effectively trapping the tape user. You're not even trying to resist. He grinned, well, like I said, I don't really want to win either. Away's just shook his head and turned to Midnight. He's actually immobile, right? The R-rated heroine licked her lips. Oh, sweet bondage. I can't wait until you're 18. Away's took an instinctive step back. Stay the fuck away from me, lady. Oh. There a team more. She shivered with a squeal. Midnight? Can you stop getting aroused by children, on international television? I promise nothing. The heroine cleared her throat before cracking her whip. Zero is unable to move. Away's is the winner. Honestly, after the first match, this feels somewhat anticlimactic. But the next match is sure to be varied and exciting. I might have spoke too soon. Mike groaned as he watched the umpteenth minute of Bakugo and Tetsutetsu's match. Aizawa shook his head disappointedly. It's literally a fight between an unstoppable force and an immovable object. How is it so ungodly boring? Ha ha ha. This is incredible. Bakugo roared with joy as he fired explosion after explosion at the metal man. Tetsutetsu seemed just as happy, finally. A man that can stand up to me. I'm calling it now, you're my rival. Another explosion blasted Tetsutetsu back, but he shrugged it off and charged again. This cycle had been going on for a long time. A long time. In the class stands, Kirishima was bashing his head into the wall. Seriously? I should be down there fighting Bakugo. I'm his real rival. Mina yawned. I don't know, Kiri. It'd probably be just as boring if you were fighting Bakugo. He turned to his childhood friend with tears. How could you say that? I'm way more interesting than Tetsu 4 over there. We're not even comparable. Oh god. This is so manly. Tetsutetsu roared from the battlefield below. I hate this stupid festival. Kirishima choked as he sobbed in a corner. Hey, lighten up, horn buddy. You get to fight Uraraka and that's def gonna be interesting. Hey, speaking of Uraraka, where is she? Ow ow ow. Izuku rapidly tapped Uraraka's back as she pinned him to the ground in the waiting room while twisting his arm. Uraraka, I think that means he gives up. Ida's sweat dropped at his friend's bulging eyes. Ha, sorry about that, Deku. Uraraka relaxed her grip and helped her opponent off of the ground. I just wanted to make sure my moves were sharp before the match. Izuku groaned while rubbing his shoulders. Man, I can't believe Ojiro even knew anything that brutal. It's seriously impressive that you got it down so perfectly though, Uraraka. She blushed at the compliment. It's nothing. Well, it's not nothing, Uraraka. High-level martial arts like that normally takes years of training. You seem to have a serious talent for it though. Ida asserted reassuringly. Geez, y'all gonna make me embarrassed. She chuckled sheepishly. I just saw how hard everyone was training and thought I should work hard too, you know? She flashed back to the times she saw the Greenette working out at school, sparring against their classmates, talking to basically everyone about ways to better himself. He's so much more dedicated than I am, can I really compare to that? I guess there's only one way to really find out. The trio continued to chat until Present Mike called Uraraka out after Bakugo finally knocked out Tetsutetsu. Good luck. We're rooting for you. Do your best, Uraraka. She waved to her friends before exiting the concrete hallway and entering the sunny field. Exhaling deeply, she stepped onto the battlefield opposite Kirishima. Acutely, she was aware of Present Mix, likely degrading, commentary, but her nerves got the better of her and blocked it out. Her heart pounding so hard that she heard it in her ears, she dashed forward the second it was called, start. Hosu's city man, I really need to speed up. I'm gonna miss Tenya's next match. I already had to miss my morning jog, wonder how he's doing. Ugh, I can't worry about that now. Multiple reports from the last hour, focus. It was a sunny day in the city as the turbo hero, Ingenium leapt up and over buildings in his shiny armor, much to the adoration of the people below. But despite the cheery atmosphere of the city, Tensei Ida was on patrol for a disconcertingly grim reason. Over a dozen dead heroes. Over 20 crippled. And he's definitely somewhere in Hosu. Only question is, where? Ingenium landed on an empty street and took off, the engines in his arms propelling him at blazing speed. Squad A, go north. Squad B, check the west side. Then he noticed a flash of movement on the side as well as an eerie chill down his spine. Skidding to a halt, Ingenium scaled a building before dropping into an alley while activating his intercom. I've found him. Across the shadowy alley, a figure hunched over in the darkness, the only sign of life being his eyes shining with malice. Red like all the blood on his hands. It's the hero killer. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.